All right. Well, thank you guys for coming. This is we should just go over like the rules and everything, and it would be good if you guys have like never played poker before, if you only played a couple times, just to get like a refresher for our upcoming tournament, which I'm sure you guys might be aware of. But should only take like 15, 20 minutes, and after there'll be like opportunity to go and play poker and like test out what you learned. So, without further ado, so the overview of the most common form of poker, which is Texas Hold'em, is that everyone starts with 2 hole cards from a standard deck of cards, and obviously the goal is to win each individual hand. And there's 2 primary ways to win, which is to have the best 5-card hand at the end of the hand, showdown, or if you're like the last one standing in the hand, you get everyone else to like leave the hand by folding, then you also win. So here's just like a brief overview of all the different hands you can have in poker. So if you guys are new, it's probably a good idea like when you're playing to kind of just like Google a chart and like have it as a reference. So you guys, I guess, take like a couple minutes to look at it. So you're like combining 5 cards to create one of these hands. Yeah. It's very common, like people when they first play will get confused, but it's like it's no issue just to have this up as like a reference, just so you don't make any mistakes. Yeah.
Can the 4 of a kind be? So it's obviously 4 aces, but they can it be any card, or it has to be 9?
Yeah.
Has to be 9.
So it could be like any card. This is yeah. It could be. Sorry, what was the question?
For the 4 of a kind, number 3, is obviously 4 aces. Or sorry, yeah, no, 4
Yeah.
aces. But then that 5th card, can that be any card?
Yeah. So I mean, these are examples, and then like any kind of permutation of different rank cards will be acceptable. So example for a straight, like there's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You could also have 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And typically the way it works is like the highest card will win. So we have what we'd say over here for a straight is like we have a 9 high straight. So like a 10 high straight would beat that. As well as like for the 1 pair, we have like a pair of aces, which is like the best pair you could have. So that would beat any other like lower pair. So that's something to keep in mind. Like the cards go from like 2 to ace, and like generally you want like the highest card in order to win the hand. So we do some examples. For example, if we hold pocket aces, and the board is ace, 10, deuce, 3, 8, what hand would we have? Anyone want to volunteer? Yep.
3 of a kind.
Yep. We'd have 3 of a kind of aces, and our opponent would have. Keep going. Don't worry about it. Another volunteer, maybe? Yep, high card. So in this case, the aces would win with 3 of a kind. We can go for another example where we have 4, 5. And the board is ace of clubs, and then 10 of hearts, 2 of hearts, 3 of hearts, 8 of diamonds. And our opponent is ace of clubs, 10 of diamonds. Okay, this is a typo. There's only like 1 ace of clubs in the deck, so it should be like ace of spades or something. There's only 1 of each card in the deck. This is a typo. But so anyone want to volunteer? Like, what do we have? What does our opponent have? And like, who would win? Yeah.
We have flush, they have 2 pair.
Yep.
And we win.
Yeah, sounds good. So, in general, like, when you're playing, you'll get like the hang of it. You might like make some mistakes, but it's just good to get like some practice in. So now we're gonna talk about position, and position is basically in reference to the order of actions when you're playing a hand of poker. So who goes first, who goes second, and we can see like a typical game of 10 players is structured like this, where you'll have, this is like considered under the gun, and this player who's right to the left of the big blind will go first, and it'll go clockwise around until the big blind will be the last to act. And yeah, so we put out a small blind and a big blind in the beginning of each hand. these are the two people on the left of the button. And so basically, this is something like you're forced to do. Each hand, there's two people forced to put out blinds, and it kind of incentivizes you to like put money in the pot to try and win the blinds. But yeah, so this is the button. It's considered like the best position in poker, and every hand will rotate. So if you like play a hand and you're the button, the next hand the button will move here, and so on. That way, everyone gets like a fair chance to like start at different positions, and it like makes the game more interesting. Yeah.
Then the button's the dealer. However, the small and big blind are the ones forced to put money first, but it's the one after that one that starts, actually.
Yeah. So it'll be the one to the left of the big blind that starts. And then next hand, like the button would move one, and then this would be the small blind, this would be the big blind, and then this player would move. So, yeah, it makes it like more fair and more even. All right.
Does the big blind need to put the equal amount of money as the small blind? It has to put more? Less?
That's a good question, yeah. The small blind typically puts half of what the big blind does. So if the small blind puts 1, the big blind will put 2. Kind of depends on like what people decide to play, but yeah.
Are you allowed to just put same as the small blind? Like if you're the big blind, you just put 1. If the small blind put 1.
No, it's like you're forced to put it in the pot. So you're forced to like small would be if you're playing a game with like 1, 2, small blind would be forced to put 1, and the big blind would be forced to put 2.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's kind of considered like a bad position because you're forced to put money in the pot without like knowing your cards. This is probably like the most confusing part of poker, and the one that like even now like I get confused sometimes, but it's basically the order of betting. And one of the confusing things is that we have 4 different streets of action, and the pre-flop will have a different round of betting than the flop, turn, and river. So pre-flop is when basically you receive your 2 hole cards without seeing any of the community cards that are shared, and then you can choose to like bet, fold, etc. And then once like pre-flop action is concluded, so that means like no one's left to act, everyone's made their action, whether it's raise, call, or fold. Then you'll see the flop, which is 3 cards. And then the action will be similar to pre-flop. You'll be raising, betting, and folding in the order of positions, all the way to the river. And then once the river is dealt and everyone's made their actions, we'll have the showdown. So this is where we would, like I was talking before, you would like say what hand you have, like whether it's 2 pair, a flush, 1 pair, and you just compare and see whoever has the best hand. So yeah, you'll notice that there's 5 community cards, and you have 2 cards. However, we want to make a 5-card hand. So basically, you can use like any permutation, right? So if I have ace king, I can use like ace king 10. However, if someone has a hand like 3-4, they can use ace 5-2. So you want to choose like the best combination of your 2 hole cards and the 5 cards on the board. Also, you don't have to use both your cards. You can use only 1 to win a hand, or you can use even none of your cards to win a hand. Yeah. So does anyone have questions on that?
What would be an example of using none of your cards to win a hand?
For example, if the board runs out like, if there runs out the 5 cards on the board is like a straight, then often that might win. So you just use the board, and then it might be like a split. Is there confusion?
Will everybody be using the board then?
Yeah.
So then how,
Then you just split up the money.
okay, I see.
Yeah.
When you're betting in the pre-flop, if I'm the 4th person, for example, and I call the one before me, you're number 5, and you raise.
Yeah.
Do I have to raise to match yours, or I don't?
Yeah. So
Like everyone in the table needs to like match yours.
all right. So we'll go back here.
You want to repeat the question for people on Zoom?
So his question was basically, if someone raises in this position, and he calls, and then I'm here and I raise him, like what's the sequence of action? So what will happen is the next person to act will be the small blind, and it'll keep going counterclockwise until it goes back to him, and then he will have to either call my raise, fold, or he can raise again. So an example would be this player raises to 10, you call, and I make it like 50, then this player would be forced to either call 50, we'd have to fold, or he could raise. And then, depending on what he does, then it'll be your turn to act. So then you could still make your decision like call, fold, or raise. Yeah. And yeah, so the confusing thing about the difference between like pre-flop, flop, turn, and river is that pre-flop, the action will start here, right, as we were talking about. But once the cards come out in the middle, so we're gonna start with 3 cards, then the action will start here. That's kind of why like the button is considered the best position, because you're always last to act. So you get like more information about like what your opponents are doing. Any questions? I think you guys arrived a little late, but are we sure there's no questions? Great. So we're talking about this before a bit, but here are some of the betting options that you can do. So the first one, like the most obvious one, is fold. If you don't like your cards and you don't want to play the hand, you don't want to call a bet, you can just fold and just end the hand and wait for a new hand to start. So you might do a lot of folding. Then there's also calling, which is matching the previous bet. For example, if I raise 10, a call would be like you put 10 in the pot and you're able to see the flop. Then there's another spot, check, which is means you choose not to bet. However, you can only check if there's no outstanding bets. So if I bet 10, you have to either call my 10 or you have to fold or raise. You can't like not call my bet and then still try and see more cards. So the check is exclusive to like when there's no bets out and you don't want to put more money in the pot, and no one else wants to put money in the pot, you can just check. And then the most fun one, in my opinion, is raise. So if you have a good hand, you're trying to get someone to fold, you might raise, bet. And there's no limits to raising. That's like the fun thing about the game. You can bet all your money, you can bet a little bit of it. If someone bets, you can always raise at least double their bet. So here's some stipulations, is that if there's a raise before we act, as I was saying, you can't check, you can always raise, call, or fold. So that's kind of the benefit of betting, is that it forces people to like make a decision. It forces people to put money in the pot to see more cards. And if there's no raise, you can either raise or check. So basically you can bet if you like your hand, or you can check and try and see more cards. And then, yeah, so I think I talked about the bottom 2 bullet points already, but are there any questions on this? Yes?
Is there a way or like specific like order of action as to like, because you can't raise twice, right? Like if you raise and then everyone calls you,
Yeah.
that's it.
Yes.
Then the next time, or like another card is put down, can you be the first person to raise again, or it's like the person to your left, the one that has the option whether to raise or call to that new card?
The order of betting is always going to move by like the position that we're talking about earlier.
Always.
Yeah, so it doesn't matter whether you were like the last one to bet, it still takes the same order.
Okay.
But yeah. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Alright. Great. So here we'll go through an example. So we're gonna playing 10 cent, 20 cent. So that means the small blind and the big blind. It's like 10 cents, 10 chips, and 20 cents. And we have pocket aces, which is the best hand in poker. Very good hand in the small blind. So first off, everyone puts their blind in the middle. How much is in the pot? Would anyone like to answer? Should I just call on someone? Call in.
$2.
No. So it's gonna be 30 cents, because the small blind is 10 cents and the big blind is 20 cents. So the small blind's gonna be putting in 10 cents, big blind's 20 cents, so there's 30 cents total in the pot.
But if everyone plays,
Yeah,
it would be.
there could be more, but in the beginning it's 30 cents.
It's just that you said all for our last. Only the 2 blinds with the blinds.
Oh, so
But
you would be right in that case.
Thank you.
Sorry. Okay.
So after the big blind goes, do you have to put in 20 cents?
Yeah, so the action will start to the left of the big blind, the one over there, and if he wants to play, he has to put in 20 cents.
Gotcha.
So the big blind is like a bet, basically, a forced bet. And then suppose that everyone folds. So now the action's on us. How much, or what are our options? I think I'll just say it. Here we can either fold, call, or raise. So can anyone say how much we would have to call to play the pot? Any volunteers? Yeah, basically 20 cents. Since we already put 10 cents in, we would only have to put 10 cents more.
Oh, we're the small one?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
but yeah. And then if the cutoff raises before us, you guys can see the cutoff, and then our options would now be, we'd have the same option, so we could raise, call, or fold. Again, similar thing here is if everyone before us calls us, if everyone puts the 20 cents in the middle and they want to see a pot, we'll have the same option. So we can fold, we can call, or we can raise. And then here's an interesting one. So suppose we're the first to raise. So everyone folds and we would make it like $1. And then the big blind raises after us and makes it $3. What would our options be? Maybe someone in the back.
We have to match.
Yeah. So we'd either have to match them or fold, and we could also raise. So we have a lot of options. Yep.
Is the small blind the last, like for the pre-flop round, is the small blind always like the last one to go? Of like, you're going around?
Yeah, so small blind will be the second last act. The big blind will always still have an option to raise even if someone calls.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. But actually the small blind, once the 3 cards are dealt, then will become the first one to act. Alright. So I guess this is not really the rules, but it's maybe a little bit more of strategy and kind of so you can get a better understanding of like why you might make certain actions. So the question is why raise? And if you recall that once someone raises, it kind of forces you to either match their bet or kind of fold or raise. So the main reason for raising is either we have a very good hand and we want someone to match your bet and we want to win their money at showdown, or as a bluff. If we think someone's going to fold, we might want to bet a lot and then we can just win the pot right there. So yeah. If we go back here, like we have 4 streets of action, but a lot of the time when you're playing poker, you're not going to see all the streets because you might get to the flop and then someone bets and everyone folds, and then we'll just play another hand once like they're the last one standing. Why would we call someone's bet? Is 2 real reasons. Is that we think we have a good hand, maybe we have 1 pair, and we want to call and try and see a showdown. Perhaps because we think someone's bluffing, or because we think that they're betting too much, or we might have a chance to improve to the best hand with more cards. Basically, we're drawing. When people say drawing in poker is like, if we look at this example and pretend you can't see these cards, we have like 4 or 5 of hearts, and there's 2 hearts on the board. That means we'll just need 1 more heart to make a flush. So even though you only have like high card here, you have a very bad hand here, you have the opportunity to like improve to a better hand. So that's a reason you might call, is because you think it's possible that a card may come out that might improve you to a better hand. And yeah, so you call to see another card. And then the last one is folding. I think this is the most obvious one. Is like if you just have a bad hand and you just like don't want to play the pot, then you can always just fold. So that's kind of it. Does anyone have some questions? Nope. Okay, great. So the last thing is, I don't know like how many people know about this in the room, but we're gonna have a poker tournament at the end of March. So we'll have like 150 people that show up, and there'll be prizes and food. It's normally a lot of fun. So I think if you go to this website, our website at columbiapoker.club, you can look at, we have our spring tournament. You have 2 days, 3 hours, and 27 seconds to register. So register quickly, and it'll be just like a Google form, completely free. You don't need to like be amazing at poker to enter. There's a lot of people who like this is their first, second time playing poker who play. But yeah, I definitely recommend if you like poker, you want to learn more, you want to meet more people, to sign up, and you'll get like more information. I wish I had like a QR code or something. But yeah, the website is columbiapoker.club. Anyone wants to bookmark that. All right. Sounds good. Is everyone excited to like? Oh yes.
Sorry, it said there was going to be a qualifier, so securities for that one.
You want me to talk on that, David?
Huh?
You want me to talk on that?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Yeah, so we're gonna have qualifiers, because right now we have 450 registrants for the tournament. We only have, like David said, 150 seats to sit at the live tournament. So we need to whittle down the field from 450 to 150. So on Monday, there will be the first qualifier, and you do one of the two qualifiers. So next Monday, 7 to 10 p.m., or next Saturday from 1 to 4 p.m. When you register, you choose which of those times you want to compete in, and then everyone will start online with a certain amount of chips, and you'll play online poker until the field is whittled down to, I think we'll do 50 per qualifier, and then the other 50 slots will allocate based off of the size of each of the qualifiers, so that 150 people end up progressing to the next round. There'll be prizes for people that finish high up on the online qualifiers, and then for the in-person tournament, we have a prize pool that just recently doubled to now $3,000 in value. So it'll be lots of fun, free dinner. It'll be a good time. But yeah, register soon.
Yeah, the issue is not like we want you to be good at poker. The issue is just like,
Space constraints.
yeah, we don't have a lot. There's not a lot of places where you can get like 500 people in Colombia. So we just needed like some way to choose like certain people to get in. But
Yeah.
you'll have a good chance if you sign up.
And then also the second part of this lecture series will be this Saturday from 3 to 4 p.m. and that'll go over the basics of tournament poker, which is just slightly more in depth on strategy, so that you have kind of more of an idea of how you can increase your odds of progressing from the qualifier to the live tournament. That'll also be recorded